The sky changed on a Tuesday. Not gradually like the shift from day to night, but in an instant. One moment, the blue expanse above Washington, D.C. was clear and bright. The next, it was filled with massive dark shapes that seemed to swallow the sun. Major Sam Mitchell was in the middle of his morning coffee when the emergency alert blared from his phone. He grabbed it quickly, reading the message with widening eyes. The text was simple. Code red. Report to Pentagon immediately. Sam's hand shook slightly as he set down his mug. Through his kitchen window, he could see his neighbors pouring into the street, pointing upward at the sky. He didn't need to look. The shadows had already told him everything he needed to know. Dad? His daughter Lily stood in the doorway, her school backpack hanging from one shoulder. At 16, she was too smart to miss the tension in his face. What's happening? I don't know yet, Sam said, already reaching for his uniform jacket. But I need to go to work right now. Call Mrs. Peterson next door. Stay with her until I call you. But the things in the sky. Lily. Sam gripped her shoulders gently. I promise I'll tell you everything as soon as I can. Just stay safe. The drive to the Pentagon took half the usual time. Roads were nearly empty except for military vehicles and people standing in the middle of streets, staring upward. Sam kept his eyes on the road. He didn't want to see them yet, not until he had to. The Pentagon was in controlled chaos when he arrived. As the Air Force's top communications specialist, Sam was directed straight to the crisis room where General Paul Harris was already barking orders at a room full of officers and analysts. Mitchell, Harris called when he spotted Sam. Get over here, we need someone who can make sense of what they're broadcasting. Who is broadcasting, sir? Sam asked, though he already knew. Harris pointed to the massive screen on the wall. It showed what looked like hundreds of dark, oval-shaped objects in Earth's orbit. They were arranged in a perfect geometric pattern. Aliens, Harris said flatly, and they're not saying a damn thing. Sam swallowed hard. 20 years in the Air Force hadn't prepared him for this. How many? 412 objects, said a woman's voice from behind him, each roughly 2 miles long. Sam turned to see a slim woman with curly brown hair pulled back in a loose ponytail. She wore civilian clothes and a NASA badge. Dr. Olivia Winters, she said, extending her hand. I specialize in astrobiology at NASA. They called me in when the ships appeared. Ships? Sam repeated. What else would they be? Olivia asked with a small, nervous smile. General Harris interrupted. Dr. Winters thinks they might be trying to communicate through nonverbal means. I need you to work with her to figure out if they're sending any signals we're not picking up. Sam nodded and followed Olivia to a workstation covered in monitors, showing different data streams. They appeared exactly 3 hours ago, Olivia explained. No warning, no approach detected, just suddenly there in orbit, perfectly positioned. You sound almost impressed, Sam observed. Olivia looked up at him. I've spent my career searching for signs of extraterrestrial intelligence. Of course I'm impressed. And terrified, aren't you? Before Sam could answer, his phone buzzed with a text from Lily. Dad, are you okay? People are saying it's the end of the world. Sam texted back quickly. I'm fine. It's not the end of the world. Stay inside. He hoped he wasn't lying. We're getting strange readings from communication satellites, Olivia said, pointing to one of the screens. It's like there's a pattern, being broadcast globally, but it's not on any frequency we normally use. Sam leaned closer. That's not just interference. Those are deliberate pulses. For the next several hours, they worked to decode the strange signal pattern, while military forces worldwide went on high alert. Reports came in from every country. The alien ships were visible from every point on Earth, hanging in the sky like dark moons. Major Mitchell, General Harris called from across the room. The President is authorizing nuclear readiness. I need to know if those signals are a threat. Sam looked at the data they'd collected. Sir, the signals aren't directed at our military. Systems or infrastructure, they're everywhere, like they're scanning the planet. Or mapping it for invasion, Harris muttered. We can't jump to conclusions, Olivia insisted. If they wanted to attack, why announce their presence? Why not just strike? Harris glared at her. Maybe they enjoy watching us squirm first. By nightfall, the world was in a state of barely controlled panic. Religious leaders called it the end times. Military leaders called for action. Ordinary people filled the streets, some in protest, some in prayer. Sam finally got a break when Olivia suggested they get coffee from the Pentagon cafeteria. As they walked, Sam checked his phone again. "My daughter keeps texting me about dreams," he said, frowning. "She says she can see strange crystal cities when she closes her eyes." Olivia stopped walking. "That's the third report I've heard like that today. Children describing crystal structures they've never seen before. What does it mean?" "I don't know," Olivia admitted. "But I think the signals might not be aimed at our technology. They might be aimed at us, at our minds." A junior officer ran up to them. "Major Mitchell, Dr. Winters, General Harris needs you back immediately. The aliens are moving." They hurried back to the crisis room. On the main screen, the perfect formation of alien ships was shifting, rearranging into a new pattern. "What are they doing?" Harris demanded. "It looks like..." Olivia stared at the screen. "It looks like a DNA double helix." Sam's phone buzzed again. It was Lily. "Dad, I can understand them. They're looking for something. Something inside us." A chill ran down Sam's spine. "Sir," he said to General Harris, "I think we need to consider the possibility that this isn't about our weapons or technology. It might be about us, about humans." "Explain," Harris ordered. "The signals, the formation changes. They're studying us," Olivia said, her voice growing excited despite the tension. "This isn't an invasion. It's research." "Research for what?" Harris asked. Sam looked down at his phone, at Lily's message. "I don't know. But whatever it is, I think my daughter might be able to help us find out." For 3 days, the alien ships remained in orbit. They made no attempt to descend to Earth or to communicate in ways humans could easily understand. Nations bickered over response strategies. The military remained on high alert, and ordinary people looked to the sky, wondering if life would ever be the same again. Sam split his time between analyzing the strange signals with Olivia and checking on Lily, whose dreams of crystal cities grew more vivid each night. Something was happening, something beyond their understanding, and on. The 4th day, everything changed again. A single ship broke formation and began to descend toward Earth. The silent conversation was about to begin. The single alien ship descended slowly toward Earth, breaking away from the perfect formation above. Everyone at the Pentagon watched in silence as it moved down through the atmosphere without any signs of heat or friction that should have been there. It stopped and hovered over the middle of the Pacific Ocean, about 500 miles from Hawaii. "Why there?" General Harris asked, his hands gripping the edge of the command table. "There's nothing there." "Exactly," Olivia said. "No cities, no military bases. They're being careful." Sam looked at the readings on his screen. "Sir, the ship is broadcasting a new signal. It's much stronger than before." Before anyone could respond, every light in the room flickered. Screens went blank for 3 seconds, then came back on. Reports flooded in from around the world. "Sir," a young lieutenant called out, "we're getting word that all weapons systems worldwide just went offline for exactly 3 seconds. Missiles, fighter jets, tanks, satellites, everything military." The room went silent. Harris's face turned dark red. "They just showed us they could disarm us anytime they want," Sam said quietly. "At least they turned everything back on," Olivia pointed out. "That seems like a message in itself." Harris turned to Sam. "Get me everything on that new signal. I want to know what they're saying." Sam worked frantically with Olivia. The signal was unlike anything they had seen before, complex, mathematical. Patterns that seemed to shift and evolve. "This isn't radio waves or electromagnetic signals in the usual sense," Olivia said, her eyes wide with excitement. "I think they're using quantum entanglement to transmit information. That's why it appears everywhere at once." Sam rubbed his tired eyes. "How is that possible?" "I don't know, but I think we need help." Olivia pulled out her phone and made a call. "I know a linguist who specializes in mathematical languages, Dr. Eric Bennett. If anyone can help us decode this, it's him." Sam's phone buzzed with a text from his neighbor. Lily having bad headaches and talking nonsense. Should I take her to hospital? Sam felt his chest tighten with worry. I need to check on my daughter, he told Olivia. She's been affected by the alien somehow. I'll be back as soon as I can. Harris wasn't happy but allowed Sam to leave. An hour later, Sam was sitting beside Lily's bed at home. She looked pale but calm. The headache is gone now, she told him. It happened when they started talking. Sam took her hand. What do you mean, talking? The visitors, Lily said. I can feel them. Not hear exactly, but understand pieces of what they're trying to say. Sam tried to keep his voice steady. What are they saying, Lily? They're looking for something. Something about humans that makes us different. She closed her eyes. They call themselves the Observers. They've been watching us for a long time. Sam took a deep breath. Lily, I need to take you to meet some people. People who are trying to understand the visitors too. When Sam brought Lily to the Pentagon, General Harris was against involving a teenager in classified operations. But when Lily correctly identified the mathematical pattern on the screens without looking at them, even Harris had to admit she might be useful. Dr. Eric Bennett had arrived by then, a tall man with glasses and a quiet voice. He examined the signal patterns and then listened carefully to what Lily said about them. It makes sense, he said finally. The mathematical sequences mirror certain language patterns, not words, but concepts. They're trying to establish basic communication. With who? Harris demanded. If they want to talk, why not just talk? Maybe they can't, Olivia suggested. Maybe they don't have mouths or vocal cords like we do. Or maybe they're being careful not to frighten us more than they already have. As they spoke, a message came in from the president. The United Nations was forming a special contact team. Scientists, military leaders, and diplomats from major nations. Sam, Olivia, and even Lily were requested to join, along with Dr. Bennett. This is bigger than just us now, Sam said. The whole world needs to respond together. Later that night, Sam found Olivia working alone in the lab, still studying the signals. You should get some rest, he told her. She smiled tiredly. How can I sleep? This is literally what I've spent my whole life hoping for. Proof that we're not alone. It's terrifying and wonderful at the same time. Lily had another dream, Sam said. She saw them this time. Olivia looked up quickly. The aliens? What did they look like? She said they were like walking crystals, transparent beings with no faces she could recognize. Light moved inside them instead of blood. Before Olivia could respond, a new figure entered the lab, a woman in a dark suit with a stern expression. Major Mitchell, Dr. Winters, I'm Agent Kimberly Ross, CIA. I've been assigned to your team. She looked between them. Specifically, I'm here to monitor Lily Mitchell and her unusual connection to our visitors. Sam straightened. My daughter isn't a security threat. No one said she was, Ross replied coolly. But she may be our best chance to understand what's happening. The next morning, the contact team gathered on the deck of an aircraft carrier. In the Pacific, the closest ships were allowed to the hovering alien craft. Sam watched as Lily stood at the railing, looking at the massive dark shape floating above the water. It was huge, easily 2 miles long and shaped like a smooth, elongated oval with no visible windows or doors. They're ready, Lily said suddenly. They want to show us something. As if responding to her words, the bottom of the alien ship began to glow with a soft blue light. The light spread outward, forming a perfect circle on the ocean's surface. Within the circle, the water became completely still, like glass. Then, rising from the circle of still water, a figure emerged. It stood on the surface as if the water were solid. Just as Lily had described, it looked like a walking crystal, transparent with internal lights flowing through it. It had a humanoid shape, but no features that looked like a face. Olivia gasped beside Sam. First contact, she whispered. Real first contact. The crystal being raised what might have been an arm. The blue light pulsed. Lily stepped forward. They say they've been watching us for a long time. They say they need our help, General Harris muttered. A race that can disable all our weapons needs our help? That seems unlikely. The crystal being turned, seeming to look directly at Lily. More lights pulsed inside it. There's something coming, Lily translated, her voice growing tense. Something worse than anything we can imagine, and we're right in its path. The silent conversation had begun, and Earth would never be the same again. The next 3 days were filled with careful attempts at communication with the crystal being. The contact team set up a base on the aircraft carrier, with computers, translation equipment, and a special platform where Lily could stand directly, facing the alien. They called themselves the Observers, just as Lily had said. Dr. Bennett created a simple mathematical language to communicate basic ideas. Olivia worked on understanding their biology, and Sam stayed close to Lily, watching over her as she became the main bridge between humans and aliens. Are you sure you're okay with this? Sam asked his daughter on the morning of the 4th day. They sat eating breakfast in the carrier's mess hall. I'm not scared, Dad, Lily said. They don't want to hurt us. They're scared too. Scared of what? Lily looked out the window toward the alien ship hovering over the water. The void. That's what they call it. I see it in my dreams now too. Something dark that eats everything. Sam wanted to tell her it was just dreams, but he knew better now. Tell me about the Observers. Why can you understand them when no one else can? They said some humans have a special brain pattern? Something about our genes that makes us able to hear them. She took a sip of orange juice. There are others like me. They're looking for them too. Later that day, on the deck of the carrier, the crystal being projected images into the air above the water. They showed stars, planets, and what looked like maps of the galaxy. The being pointed to various locations while Lily and Dr. Bennett tried to understand. I think they're showing us their home worlds, Olivia said, watching closely. And their travel path to Earth. The map zoomed in on one particular star system. Then the image changed to show crystal cities much like the ones Lily had described from her dreams. But then darkness seemed to spread across the projection, consuming planet after planet. The crystal cities shattered. The void, Lily whispered. They're showing us what happened to their worlds. Agent Ross stepped forward. Ask them why they came to Earth specifically. Lily relayed the question through Bennett's mathematical language system and hand gestures they had developed. The crystal being pulsed with internal lights. More images appeared in the air. They've been watching us for a long time, Lily translated. Centuries. They were waiting for us to reach a certain level of technology. They say we have something special, something that might help fight the void. What do we have that an advanced alien civilization needs? General Harris asked skeptically. The crystal being pointed directly at Lily then made a sweeping gesture toward all the humans present. Us, Olivia said suddenly. They need humans. That evening, Sam found himself in a private meeting with General Harris, Agent Ross, and several government officials he didn't recognize. They met in a secure room deep inside the carrier. What we're about to tell you is classified at the highest level, one of the officials said. He was an older man with white hair and cold eyes. Your daughter's connection to the aliens isn't coincidence, Major Mitchell. Sam felt his body tense. What do you mean? We've known about the Observers for decades, the man continued. Since 1947, to be exact. We recovered one of their scout craft that crashed. There was no public announcement. That's impossible, Sam said. If the government knew about aliens, why keep it secret? Why not prepare people? General Harris looked uncomfortable. Fear of panic, and there were other considerations. What considerations? Sam demanded. Agent Ross spoke up. The Roswell craft contained technology beyond anything we'd seen. There was a decision made to study it quietly, to gain military advantage. A small group within the government has been working with bits of their technology ever since. Sam stood, up, anger rising in him. So when they arrived with their fleet, you already knew who they were? You've been lying to everyone? Sit down, Major, Harris ordered. This goes far beyond what you think. The officials explained that the Observers had been sending signals for years, warning about the void. But only a few humans, those with a specific genetic marker, could receive those signals. People like Lily. Your daughter has what we call the receiver gene, Ross explained. It's rare but not unique. There are perhaps a few thousand people worldwide who can directly sense the observer's communications. And you've been tracking them? Sam asked, feeling sick. Studying them, Ross corrected, trying to understand what makes them different. One of the officials pulled out a tablet and showed Sam images of a facility where people, mostly children and teenagers, were hooked up to monitoring equipment. These are other receivers, the man said, volunteered by their families to help us understand the alien communications. Volunteered or taken? Sam asked coldly. No one answered him. The next morning, Sam sought out Olivia and told her everything. Her face grew pale as he explained. That explains why the observers didn't announce themselves openly, she said. They were testing us, seeing how we would react to their presence before revealing that they already had contact with our governments. And we failed the test, Sam said. They saw how those in power kept secrets, how they tried to weaponize alien technology instead of preparing for the void. Together they found Dr. Bennett and shared what they knew. Bennett listened quietly, then said, We need to talk to the observers directly, without government filters, and we need Lily to do it. Later that day, when Lily stood on the communication platform facing the crystal being, Sam, Olivia, and Bennett stood with her. Agent Ross watched suspiciously from a distance. Ask them about the Roswell crash, Sam urged his daughter. Ask them if they've been in contact with our governments before. Lily used the hand signals and mathematical patterns they had developed. The crystal being's lights pulsed rapidly in response. They say it was one of their scout ships, Lily translated. The pilot died in the crash. They've been watching since then to see what we would do with their technology. And the void? Olivia asked. When is it coming? More lights pulsed in the crystal being. It's already at the edge of our solar system, Lily said, her voice shaking. Scout ships, like the ones the observers sent. The void knows the observers are here. Why do they need us? Bennett asked. What can humans do against something that destroyed their worlds? The crystal being raised both arms. A beam of light shot from it to Lily's forehead. She gasped, but didn't pull away. Images flashed in the air between them. Human art, music, literature, science, dreams. They think we have imagination, Lily said, sounding surprised. They think the human mind works differently than other species. We can think of things that don't exist yet and make them real. Creativity, Olivia said. They're talking about human creativity. The crystal being lowered its arms. New images appeared. Dark ships entering the solar system. We don't have much time, Lily translated. The void is coming. And Earth is right, in its path. Sam looked up at the fleet of observer ships still hanging in orbit. Then we better start working together, for real this time. But as he looked around at the government officials and military personnel nearby, he wondered, would humans unite against an outside threat, or would secrets and power struggles doom them all? News of the void's approach spread quickly among world leaders but was kept from the public. Nations began to split in their response. Some wanted to work with the observers. Others thought Earth should surrender to the void to avoid destruction. And some wanted to fight both alien groups. Sam found himself caught in the middle of these arguments. In a large meeting room on the aircraft carrier, representatives from major countries shouted at each other while the crystal being watched, silently. The observers haven't given us any proof that this void even exists, shouted a Russian general. We should use the observer technology we already have to defend ourselves against all aliens, said a Chinese official. And if we help the observers fight their war, what happens to Earth afterward? Asked a woman from the European Union. General Harris stood up. I have orders from the president. We will work with the observers, but only with guarantees of advanced technology transfer. The crystal being's lights pulsed rapidly. Lily translated, her voice growing stronger as she became more confident in her role. They say weapons aren't what we need. The void doesn't fight with ships and guns like we think of war. It fights by turning life into energy. It eats worlds. Dr. Bennett stood next to Lily, helping her find the right words. The observers believe humans have a unique mental ability. Our creativity and imagination might be a weapon against the void, which operates on pure logic. Nonsense, muttered the Russian general. Agent Ross, who had been quiet until now, suddenly spoke up. We have a report. An object entered Earth's atmosphere 30 minutes ago. It landed in the Arizona desert. The room went silent. Observer. Or void? Harris asked tensely. Ross looked grim. Neither, according to the observers. It's a scout drone sent by the void, much like the observer craft that crashed in Roswell decades ago. The crystal being projected an image. It showed a small black pod, smooth and featureless, about the size of a car. They're scanning us, Lily translated as the being continued to pulse with light. Looking for resources, for life to convert to energy. Within hours, reports came in from Arizona. The area around the black pod was changing. Plants withered. Animals died. The soil itself turned gray and lifeless, and the dead zone was growing larger by the hour. It's a test, Olivia said as they watched satellite footage of the expanding circle of death in the desert. They want to see if Earth is a suitable food source. Sam felt sick. And are we? The crystal being, now part of their crisis team, pulsed with light. Very suitable, Lily translated grimly. The void finds human consciousness especially rich in energy. Teams of soldiers were sent to the edge of the dead zone but were ordered not to enter it. Scientists in protective suits took readings from a safe distance. Everything inside the circle was completely drained of energy. No electricity worked, no life existed, not even bacteria remained. As night fell, Sam, Olivia, Lily, Bennett, and Ross gathered in a private room to talk. The government is making a huge mistake, Sam said. They're still thinking about weapons and technology. They're not understanding what we're really facing. I agree, Olivia said. The observers have been trying to tell us that conventional defenses won't work against the void. We need to use what makes humans special. Lily looked up. They told me more today. The receivers, people like me, we might be able to create a kind of mental shield. If there are enough of us working together. Ross frowned. How many would be enough? Hundreds, at least, Lily said. Maybe thousands. The government has files on many receivers, Ross admitted, but not thousands. Then we need to find more, Bennett said. And quickly. An alarm blared suddenly through the ship. They rushed to the command center where chaos had broken out. On the main screen, satellite images showed the dead zone in Arizona had tripled in size in minutes. It now covered several small towns. Evacuation orders have been given, Harris reported grimly. But many people were caught inside when it expanded. The crystal being was projecting frantic patterns of light. It's happening faster than they expected, Lily translated. The Void Scout is consuming energy at an accelerated rate. It's sending data back to the main fleet. How long do we have? Sam asked. Lily relayed the question. The crystal being's response made her pale. Days, not weeks. The main Void fleet will arrive in days. In the confusion that followed, Sam made a decision. He pulled Olivia, Bennett, and Lily aside. We need to go rogue, he said quietly. The governments are too busy fighting each other. We need to gather as many receivers as possible and work directly with the observers. That's treason, Bennett pointed out. No, Sam said firmly. It's saving humanity. To their surprise, Agent Ross approached them. I heard what you're planning, she said. I want to help. Why? Sam asked suspiciously. Ross looked tired suddenly. Because I've seen the files. I know what the government plans to do. They want to offer the observers to the Void in exchange for sparing Earth. That wouldn't work anyway, Olivia said. The Void doesn't negotiate. Exactly, Ross nodded. So I'm with you. That night they made their escape from the carrier. With Ross's help, they took a helicopter to the mainland. As they flew, They saw the observer ships in the night sky, still in formation. "Where do we go first?" Olivia asked. "There's a man I know," Ross said. "A former Special Forces operator named Jack Monroe. He went off the grid years ago when he discovered some government secrets. He can help us move around without being tracked." As they flew toward the mountains, Lily suddenly grabbed her head in pain. "What is it?" Sam asked, worried. "The dead zone in Arizona," she gasped. "It just stopped growing." "Why?" Bennett asked. Lily looked up, her eyes wide with surprise. "Because of me. Because of receivers. When we fly over it, our minds slow it down. The observers were right. Our minds can fight it." Sam looked at his daughter with new understanding. "Then we need to find every receiver we can, and fast." The helicopter continued through the dark night, carrying a small group of rebels on a mission to save not just Earth but perhaps the entire galaxy from the approaching void. Jack Monroe lived in a cabin hidden deep in the Colorado mountains. He was a tall man with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. When Ross brought the group to his door, he seemed unsurprised. "I've been watching the skies," he said simply, letting them in. "Been expecting something like this for years." Inside, his cabin looked normal except for one room filled with computers, radio equipment, and maps covered in markings. "I track receiver signals," he explained, when he saw them, staring. "Been doing it since I left the service 10 years ago. Found a pattern in brainwaves that most people can't detect." "How many have you found?" Lily asked. 312 in North America, Monroe said. "Been in contact with about half of them. The rest don't know what they are yet." Sam felt hope for the first time in days. "We need to gather as many as possible. The observers think receivers can create some kind of mental barrier against the void." "Already on it," Monroe said, tapping his keyboard. "Been sending messages since the ships appeared. Got about 60 people ready to help, more coming in every day." Over the next 48 hours, receivers began arriving at nearby locations. Some came alone, others brought families. All described similar dreams of crystal cities and dark emptiness. Lily greeted each one, explaining what they were facing. Meanwhile, the observer fleet repositioned. Several ships moved to form a barrier between Earth and the approaching void ships. On the ground, the dead zone in Arizona stopped growing but remained a gray wasteland where nothing lived. Government forces were searching for Sam and his group, but Monroe's mountain hideout remained secure. Ross used her CIA connections to monitor military movements and keep them safe. On the third day, Monroe showed them something unexpected, a small piece of crystal similar to the material the observers were made of. "Found it years ago," he explained. "It responds to receiver brainwaves. Might help focus the mental barrier you're trying to build." Olivia examined it carefully. "This could work as an amplifier," she said. "If we can replicate it." Bennett had been working with the receivers who had arrived, developing a method to combine their mental abilities. "We need more time," he said. "Maybe a week to fully prepare." "We don't have a week," Ross said, checking her secure phone. "The main void fleet has entered the solar system, 3 days at most before they reach Earth." That night, Lily woke screaming from a nightmare. Sam rushed to her side. "They're coming," she gasped. "I saw them, like black holes moving through space, swallowing everything." When morning came, they made their decision. They would gather all available receivers at a location near the dead zone in Arizona. There, with the crystal fragment as a focus, they would attempt to create a mental barrier against the void. "The observers will support us from orbit," Lily said. She had maintained her connection with the crystal beings through her dreams. "They'll try to hold off the void ships while we target the scout drone on the ground." Monroe used his network to arrange transportation for the receivers. By afternoon, they were flying in small groups toward Arizona. Government forces were too busy preparing for the void's arrival to notice their movement. As they approached the edge of the dead zone, they could see it clearly from the air, a perfect circle of gray emptiness 8 miles wide. Nothing moved within it. At the center sat the small black pod, still pulsing as it consumed the last traces of energy from the land. They set up their position 2 miles from the edge of the dead zone. Nearly 200 receivers gathered in a large circle, with Lily at the center holding the crystal fragment. Sam, Olivia, Bennett, Ross, and Monroe formed a protective ring around them. "What do we do if this doesn't work?" Olivia asked quietly. "Then we die knowing we tried," Sam said. Above them, the observer fleet moved into battle formation. The crystal beings had shared their plan through Lily. They would engage the Void fleet while the receivers targeted the scout drone. If they could destroy the scout, it might confuse the main fleet long enough to mount a stronger defense. As the sun began to set, Lily raised the crystal fragment. It began to glow in her hands. "It's time," she said. "Everyone focus your thoughts on the drone. Imagine pushing it away, cutting its connection to the Void fleet." The receivers closed their eyes. Some held hands, others simply sat quietly. For several minutes, nothing seemed to happen. Then slowly, the crystal fragment began to pulse with light, matching the rhythm of the Void drone. "It's working," Bennett whispered. "They're connecting to it." In the sky above, flashes of light appeared as the observer ships engaged the first wave of Void vessels entering Earth's atmosphere. The battle had begun. Lily's face was tense with concentration. "The drone is resisting," she said through gritted teeth. "It's strong." "You're stronger," Sam told her. "All of you together are stronger." The crystal fragment glowed brighter. Lily lifted it higher, and suddenly a beam of light shot from it toward the center of the dead zone. When it touched the black pod, a sound like thunder crashed across the sky. The pod began to vibrate. The gray zone around it flickered as if trying to hold its form. Then, with a blinding flash, the black pod cracked down the middle. Energy poured out of it, flowing back into the land. Grass began to sprout instantly, where the energy touched. Above them, the Void ships faltered in their approach. Without the scout drone feeding them information, they seemed confused. The observer ships pressed their advantage, driving the Void vessels back toward the edge of the solar system. "They're retreating," Ross said, watching the sky through binoculars. "We did it." "Not forever," Monroe warned. "They'll be back with more ships." In the days that followed, an uneasy truce formed. The observers remained in Earth's orbit as allies and protectors. World governments, faced with the reality of the Void threat, agreed to work together to prepare for its return, but publicly nothing was said. The official story became that strange atmospheric conditions had caused the shapes in the sky. The dead zone in Arizona was explained as a secret weapons test gone wrong, and the observers' ships were gradually moved to positions where they were less visible from Earth. Sam, Olivia, Lily, and the others were brought back into government service, but with new authority. A secret organization was formed to find and train more receivers, to develop the mental technology that had repelled the Void. "Why keep it all secret?" Lily asked her father one evening, as they looked up at the stars from the roof of their new home. "Why not tell people the truth?" "Panic," Sam said. "Fear. The world isn't ready to know we're in the middle of a cosmic war." "Will we ever tell them?" she asked. Sam thought of the Void ships retreating, of the promise they had made to return with greater numbers. He thought of the observer ships still watching over Earth, invisible to most eyes. "Someday," he said, "when we're ready to fight the real war. That's why no one talks about the alien fleet that entered Earth's orbit unannounced, because the story isn't over yet." Lily looked up at a particular point in the night sky, where she knew an observer ship floated, invisible to, normalized but clear to her receiver senses. "We'll be ready," she said. "Next time we'll be ready."